Hey, Sean from Street or Track here. I just wanted to put together a real quick video and help explain some of the differences between the spindles that came on your early Mustang or Falcon, Cougar, etc. And then also some of the benefits that might make you consider an upgrade to something a little stronger. Alright, so I'm going to go through a pile of spindles here and explain some of the differences. This one is a C6 spindle, so many of the original ones you can't even read this anymore because it's so crusty, but if you're lucky you can kind of read these numbers, punch them into Google, and you'll usually be able to find out what they are. If you can't read any of this, then maybe this video will help. You can always call or email me and I can help also. But basically this was on a 65 through 67 65 through 67 Mustang would have had something like this if it was the drum. Well, all of them actually had the drum spindle, even if they came with disc brakes, and that's really confusing for a lot of people. So the majority of the cars back then all had drum brakes, but you could also option for the Kelsey Hayes front disc brakes, so you could have disc brakes on a drum spindle, and that would be your original car. So that catches a lot of people out. So it would still look like this. It's this rectangular backing plate with the 4 holes. This is what's called the drum spindle. So even though it came with disc brakes, it's still called the drum spindle. All of the V8 cars had the same upper and lower ball joints all the way through to 73. Those are all the same, and probably even beyond that, but that's not our area of expertise, so I can't really say for sure. The thing that did change, though, was the outer tie rod hole. This got larger as the cars got bigger and heavier, I guess, if you want to say. So 65 through 67 would have had this, 65 through 66, rather, would have had one size. 67 through 69 would have had a different one, it was slightly larger. And then 73 would have been larger still. So this is the original size pin. That's what we're going to focus on a lot in this video. This would have had a set 6 and a set 2 bearing. It's quite small, you can see. 5-inch wide bias ply tires, that's what these cars came with. So they weren't pulling an awful lot of G's, and that's something that you should think about nowadays on your build. If you're doing like a pro touring resto mod style car, it's easy to fit an 8-inch wide wheel on these cars now, and a 225, 235 up front. You know, we're just rolling the fender lips, you could get 235s, 245s. That's a lot of extra grip that the original designers and engineers probably never even imagined that these cars would ever do. So the small ones, also I've talked about the bearings. This used a 3/4 16 nut. So that's another thing you can check out if you're trying to ID what you've got. Okay, so that was 65 through 67. There was only a drum version spindle available. Then in 68 through 73, they came out with this beauty, which is a disc version spindle. So they had this and a drum version at the same time. All the factory disc cars would have had one like this. All the factory drum cars would have had the previous version. And it would have this tab here, this through bolt here. Usually a bracket spanned this gap here, and a single piston caliper was mounted in that space there. Ball joints again are the same. This one, the tie rod would have got larger in 67 through 69. Again, like I said, in 70, 73 got bigger still. This one is actually a DO, so that means this is 70 through 73 size spindle. So it's got the set 13 and the set 12 and a 13 16 by 20 nut. So it's larger. That's what we're going to focus on for strength. So you want that larger pin, those bigger bearings for more strength, because you do not want this to snap off. That's pretty important. Okay, so that would be the disc version. There was also a larger pin drum version. You can see this is the drum. This is a 7073. This one's a D1. It's got the largest of the 3 outer tie rod holes. It's got the set 13, 12 bearings. It's got the 13, 16, 20 nut. This used to be, and still is if you can find them in good shape, this is the spindle to try and get a hold of if you want to scour junkyards and sandblast them, magnaflux them for cracks. Hopefully by the time you've done all of that, these are all, in good usable condition. This one's not too bad. But what we find is that by the time we've cleaned them up, a whole bunch of them end up coming back and they're no good. We don't want to run them. So a few years ago, we actually came out with this brand new spindle. It's totally brand new. You don't have to scour a junkyard. You can buy this, start putting it straight on your car. It's got the same larger bearing surface, set 13, set 12 bearings, same large pin, large nut, 13, 16, 20, same mounting flange for all the drum spindles, same upper and lower ball joints. The outer tie rod end is actually larger still. This is a 75-80 Granada size, which is the same taper as the 70-73 Mustang. It's just a little larger, so the pin is fatter. There's still the same degree of taper. But you get more connection, more mass in the pin basically, so it's a little stronger there. And the one nice thing about this is, I don't know if it... Okay, I'm back. The camera decided it wanted to leap off the workbench. So, where were we? Okay, right, we were talking about the new spindle and how awesome it is, and I wanted to compare the steering arm, the mass of the steering arm and the mass of the upright. So, when you're making it stronger, why not add more material into the parts that get stressed the most so we don't have as much deflection. So you can see this is the original style, and it might be difficult to see in the camera, but there's a lot more thickness in the steering arm, especially through this area right here. There's a lot more mass in the upright here. Might be difficult to see, but you get the idea. But there's more material in the upright, there's more material in the steering arm. That adds a lot of stiffness, makes the steering a lot sharper. You get less, piston pad knockback as things aren't flexing around at the extreme limits. So that's the new version of the regular height spindle that we offer. And then, of course, you must have seen the video. If you haven't, I don't know. You'll have to go check that out on YouTube, but this is our drop spindle that we came out with a couple of years ago. So this takes this guy and just makes it a little bare, basically. So again, it's super beefy. We're running a lowered upper ball joint, so you can actually run the wheel hoop. A 17-inch wheel hoop will go up and over the ball joint now. So now you've gone from an 8-inch wide tire to a 10-inch wide tire on the front of a 67, 68. You could run a 10.5 on a 69, 70. You can run a 9.5 on a 65, 66, 275 on the front of a 65, 6 car. That's a lot of tire. So every time you add more loads, more forces, you have to think about where does that affect things down the road, and that obviously leads to the spindle. So super beefy, very strong. It's got the same giant bearings, the set 13, 12s, the 13, 16 nut. It's got the drum flange here, the same taper upper and lower ball joints, and it uses a 70-73 outer tie rod hole for that beefier, thicker pin. So that's pretty much a quick view of a lot of the spindles that are on offer. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure I've missed some. These are some of the most popular ones. Wow, that was a ton of information. I hope it helped answer some of the questions that you might have about what spindles came on these cars. If you still have questions, give us a call or drop me an email through our website, streetortrack.com. Thanks for watching.